Right. So with our relationships created, our next step would be now to create this example. So this example is basically which employee would make more than 10,000 a month. So let's go ahead and go to our Access here, and we're going to create a query. So to create a query, it's going to be a simple query. I'm going to go next. This is the departments table that has got none of the information I want for the employees table. So I'm going to have to go and click on the drop down and say employees, and then pull the relevant columns. The columns are employee ID, last name, and salary. So I'm going to go employee ID, last name, and salary. Going to go next. Looks good. I'm going to go next. Now, one thing I would want you guys to think about is naming your queries. We're going to be eventually creating query 1, query 2, query 3, which will probably be named Q1, Q2, Q3. This is sort of the initial one. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call it Q00, as in the very first query. I'm going to go finish. So now I've got Q00. Now it's not quite the answer because we want anything greater than 10,000. So what we're going to do is go into our home design, go to salary, and go greater than 10,000. If I run it now, I've got a result that looks a lot like the result in my quiz here, right? Cool beans. So now what I want you to notice is if you go to SQL, there is that SQL. And that SQL, if we go flying to Notepad for a second, that is the SQL that I want you guys to kind of understand, right? So far, so good. That's the end of that query. What you're going to do now is what I would do is X out of it and save it. So that's Q00. So now if you start looking at our next one, it's which employee makes more than 13,000. Well, holy smokes, that looks like it's pretty well almost the same thing, except instead of 10,000, it's 13,000. So what we can do in Access is take the query that we know works, right-click, copy it, right-click, paste it. We're going to call this guy Q01, and Q01 is obviously going to look a lot like Q00. It's the same query, but now Q01, we can either go to SQL or just go to the design view and change that to be 13,000. We run it, and now we get a result that looks a lot like the output of that question. And what we can do now is go grab the SQL, copy, so as a Control C, go into my actual answer, paste, special, unformatted, and that's the SQL I want. Put a little box around it, and now we can kind of, tie a bow in question 1. And you know what? Just because I feel ambitious, let's go ahead and do question 2. So question 2, it says, take these guys and order them in salary in ascending order. So I would probably take this query. Let's go save, right-click, copy, right-click, paste. I'm going to call this guy Q02. Let's have a look at Q02. So Q02 seems to have the exact same SQL as Q01 did. And now, excuse me for a moment while I'm just freaking out. Let me just make sure I got this right. No, I don't want that. I want the this guy. So Q02 is sorting. Okay, so we're going to be sorting. Perfect. So I'm going to go to Q02, go to the design view. It wants to be sorting in ascending order. Here's our sort. Click ascending. Run it. Now it's going to look a lot like our output does. Partners and king, partners and king. But more importantly to me, it's going to have the order by statement right there on this fourth line. So I'm going to go Control C, going to go back to my little assignment, go into here, paste, 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 go, and then maybe grab the whole thing and shove it into a little box. And now that's the answer to question 2. This is where I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we're going to be launching into some other SQL in a second here.